Hey, I'm Chris Ralph, the professional prospector, and I'm out here in the beautiful Nevada deserts doing a little bit of claim staking work today. But I wanted to take a minute to talk to you about gold and gold scams. You know, Nevada is by far the largest gold producer in the United States. Literally about 75–80% of all the gold in the United States comes from Nevada. So if you took all the other 49 states and put them together, they make about 20–25% of the gold that comes from the United States. And in fact, Nevada produces around 5 million ounces of gold every year. But Nevada, because it has so much gold, has also been the site of a lot of gold mining scams. Yeah, they talk about all kinds of crazy stuff. Gold has been highly prized by mankind for thousands of years because it's beautiful and durable and heavy. It just makes a great monetary item. And in fact, most people would consider it to be real money. But because it's so valuable and so highly desired, there's a lot of kind of flim-flam, scammies, you know, undesirable folks that get into trying to steal your money because, hey, you might be interested in finding some real gold. Now, I talk normally about real gold, but today we're going to talk about gold scams. We're going to talk about half atoms of gold and getting gold out of water, whether it be fresh water or seawater, getting gold out of rocks that don't have any gold in it, ORMEs and LRLs and long distance locators and a lot of other scams, gold from dry lake beds, gold from sagebrush, special strange machines that supposedly produce gold out of thin air or out of water or something. We're going to talk about all those things and take a further look at it because, hey, I don't want my viewers to get scammed by gold scammers. I want you guys, if you're going to invest in gold or put money or work into making real gold, hey, I want you to have the real deal. So let's talk for a little bit about scams and fake gold. So we're back at the house to talk about gold frauds and scams in more detail. And the whole thing revolves around the fact that there are aspects of gold mining that are fairly technical, be it the geology of different kinds of gold deposits, or the technical chemistry of assaying and testing the materials to see how much gold is there, sampling techniques, or even the processes of extracting the gold, whether it be, you know, free gold like placer nuggets, alluvial gold, or whether it be hard rock gold. There's chemistry and techniques of extracting it. And it's in those more technical areas that there are folks out there who want to rip people off, and they're going to take advantage that they may not know all the details of the technical stuff, and so they'll take advantage of it and, you know, try and fool you and lie to you and take your money away. You know, I've been in the industry for a lot of years, and, you know, I could smell these scams from a mile away. But if you've not been in the gold mining industry for lots of time, if it's something new and exciting to you, then you may want to watch this video real closely so that you can learn some of the standard tricks that are out there by scammers that they use. The unfortunate part of this is that there's just way too many folks out there that are willing to lie to take your money. Now, probably the oldest scam in the book is selling or marketing claims with virtually no gold. And this kind of scam comes in a number of different forms. One of the ones that I've talked about on my videos about claim staking is there are people who go out and they will stake claims with maybe traces of gold on it or comparatively small amounts. Mostly they're claims that nobody really wants. And they might have had a small mine operation on it at one time, who knows. They'll stake these things and then they will market them to people who have really no background. And they'll promise all kinds, oh, you can go onto your own claim and mine your gold and make a living and be wealthy from the gold you mine on your own claim. And the truth is, these are claims that, like I say, have little or no gold. And so they try to trick you. And like I say, I talk about this a lot on my mining claim videos. So if you're interested in buying a mining claim or staking a mining claim, take a look at my mining claim videos. I'll put links to them in the description below. Now, probably one of the oldest tricks that goes with this is called salting. And if you ever go out and you're interested in buying a claim and the claim owner who's telling you how great this claim is tells you to, oh, go right there and take a sample. Yeah, that's I know that's really rich, so take a sample there. If he tells you where to sample, beware. Because what happens is there's been times when people will add gold to the gravel. So they'll basically go in there and take a little bit of gold, maybe a decent amount even, and mix it into the gravel. And then they say, take a sample right there. And you take a pan full of material and you pan it out, and wow, there's lots of gold here. How much do you want for this claim? And those guys make a lot of money. And that's, of course, totally dishonest. Probably the most famous case of ever about salting is a little exploration company called Bre-X. And in the late 90s, this was a company whose stock was worth just pennies a share. And then they announced that they found a 70 million ounce deposit of gold with the potential for getting bigger, up to maybe 200 million ounces of gold. And of course, at 200 million ounces of gold, that would have been the richest gold deposit ever discovered on planet Earth. And their stock went from being just a few pennies up to almost $300 Canadian. And everybody loved them, and it was just amazing, and they admired the people that made the discovery, and it was just super. But this company really wasn't equipped to go in and mine it, so they partnered with a reputable mining company to go in and mine the gold, and they were going to take a percentage of that. Well, it started coming out after the reputable company went in and started testing and confirming the samples that it was all salted. It was all fake. That when another company came in and did sampling and testing, they didn't find much gold. Virtually zero. And the price of the stock went from, almost $300 Canadian back to pretty much zero. And it was really big in the mining industry news. Investors lost like $2 billion off their investments when it went from 300 down to essentially zero. The guy who was the head geologist, who probably was involved with the salting, mysteriously disappeared. He fell out of a helicopter, supposedly. And then when they finally found his body on the ground, it had been eaten and torn apart by animals, so they couldn't really make a positive ID. People have claimed that he's still alive. They actually even made a Hollywood movie about it, although the Hollywood movie, they took the story and changed a lot of things, and so it's not really an accurate portrayal of what really happened. But it was big, and it was a big deal, and lots of new regulations came out to prevent that kind of scammy stuff from happening in the future. Another one that is common that I see a lot of is secret assay methods. You hear people that will tell you, oh, I have a special assay technique and I can find gold that no one else can find. You take it to 10 regular assayers and they don't find anything. But come to me and I'll find loads of gold and platinum and rhodium and every other thing in your ore, because I have special techniques to find. It's a scam. Almost always the people that do these special assays, they charge super high prices. A normal price for an assay, if you're having a number of them done, sometimes if you just have one, they'll charge a little extra, but a normal price, if you're having a batch of them done, is around $40 to $50 per sample, depending on what you have done and a lot of other details, but that's a good ballpark number. If you go to these secret ones, it may be 300 to 500 or even more per sample because of their special technique. Anyway, it's all bogus. I actually, and it's sad that people get involved in this and then spend a lot of money, and it's always results in a disappointment. A few years back, I was out doing some work out in the field, but I had phone signal, and I got a call from a guy who wanted to talk to me about helping him with extracting the gold and platinum and other values out of his ore. He had this super rich ore, but they just couldn't get any values out of it. And I said, okay, how many people have you had assay your ore? And he said, well, we've had most of our assays done by just this one guy, and he's got this special technique. And as soon as the guy said something about it being special or whatever, I knew what the problem was. It was that he had bogus assays done. He'd invested money in getting equipment and made plans and told himself he was going to be rich. And, so I told him, you need to have assays done by a standard assayer, not your special guy. And in fact, send it to 2 or 3 other standard assayers. And when I told him that, he said, well, we actually did do that, and they couldn't find anything. And I said, well, that's your problem. Your ore doesn't have anything in it. But he wouldn't believe it. No, I mean, he convinced himself in his mind so much that he was rich and he had just all this great gold and silver and platinum wealth that he didn't want to believe it when I told him, I'm sorry, you've been scammed. And eventually, he wanted me to come out and look at it, and I told him, you've been scammed. It's as simple as that. No, you can come out and find out how to fix the ore and get everything. It's like, no, I got no magic up my sleeve, Now that I have a broken arm, I got a big zipper on my sleeve. Anyway, in the end, he went his way and I went my way. There's nothing I can do to help him. I can't make gold and silver magically appear in ore. It just doesn't work that way. Okay, and speaking of magically appearing and other fakes, alchemy, that's another one that I really want to talk to you about. There are actually people who claim that they can do alchemy, that they can turn some things into gold. Whether, the ancient alchemists wanted to turn lead or some other thing into gold. Yeah, they never succeeded. Alchemy, it's not a thing. It's bogus. It comes from a time when people really didn't understand science very well. And that's kind of what the alchemists of today want to do to people who don't understand maybe science that well or don't know the technical details, like I say, about gold deposits and extraction and, the whole chemistry of the thing. What they tell you is they use crazy scientific terms like monoatomic gold or half atoms of gold or immature gold or ORMEs or other things like that. And these are terms which may sound really super technical and scientific, but they're not. They're just bogus. They're just like a fake term made up in a fictional movie. I have my super zero blaster, that they use in a science fiction movie. Yeah, there's no such thing, but they make it up for the movie, right? And that's what these guys have done. They make up terms for their fakery, quackery, and stealing your money. So if you hear any of these fake terms like monatomic gold or high spin gold or half atoms or ORMEs, these, and ORMEs stands for orbitally rearranged monatomic element. It's not super technical science. It's meaningless gibberish and gobbledygook that's meant to deceive you. So don't fall for it. Now, I recently got it's been a while, but I got a letter from a guy who was asking about his ores that he was told contain monoatomic high spin gold, silver, and platinum group metals. And I've actually gotten a number of questions over the years about stuff like that. And, the truth is, it's not something. It's bogus. You've been defrauded. And, what you want to do is cut your losses while you can. One of the things that I'd like to mention too is about rich gold and rich platinum. Every time somebody has told me I have super rich gold and platinum ore, I can instantly tell 100% it's a scam. And I'll tell you why. The geology of gold and the geology of platinum are very different. The chemistry of the two are very different. And so deposits that have a lot of gold will rarely have any platinum group metals, and usually if they do, it's just small amounts of palladium. So if you told me I have good gold ore with tiny amounts of palladium, it's like, okay, I could believe that. Or I have rich platinum ore with traces of gold in it, okay, I could believe that. But if you tell me I have super rich gold and super rich platinum all in the same rock, and I can tell you already that you've been defrauded by some alchemy guy or somebody with secret assay methods or some other thing like that. It's just, they don't occur. The geology is so different that they don't occur that way in nature. I want to talk a little bit about the ORMEs, the orbitally rearranged monatomic elements, or sometimes called ORMUS or M-state or some other crazy thing like that. These are all gibberish terms that don't mean anything. They're all just gobbledygook. And sometimes, people sell this stuff. They claim that it's the powder that's sometimes found on rocks in the desert. And, some kinds of rock, if it's in a desert area, what'll happen is rainwater comes on the rocks, it leaches a little bit of calcium out of it, and then in cracks in the rock, it will deposit this white powder. And it's usually a calcium carbonate. It sometimes has some silica in it. It's a naturally occurring substance. There's nothing magical about it. It doesn't contain gold. But there are people who bottle the stuff up and sell it as the elixir of the Egyptians that, will lead to long life. And, it's snake oil. It's bogus. It's a scam. So I'm sorry, if you believed this stuff in the past, it's just baloney. Now, another thing I want to talk about is LRLs, LDLs, and dowsing. Now, I did a video on dowsing. I'll talk about that in a second. LRLs, that's a long range locator. LDL, long distance locator. And they're these little electronic things, and they're usually super high priced, like $5,000 or $10,000, sometimes even more. And you point them out there and they'll blinky lights and help you supposedly find gold. Well, what the truth is about these things is that it's electronic dowsing. So that's what the relation to dowsing is. And if you believe in dowsing, fine. I don't want to get in an argument with you. I think it's a bunch of baloney and belongs in the category of scam. But if you want to play around with it, mess around, that's okay. And if you don't write me and tell me, well, but I found water or gas lines or something with it. I'm talking about gold, okay? I'm not talking about finding water. I'm not talking about finding gas lines or electric lines or anything else. I'm talking about gold. And if you're going to tell me that your dowsing works and you found gobs of gold, then show me the gold. Because every time I've had somebody challenge me on this, I say, great, show me all the gold you found. Because if you have the talent to douse for gold, you should be a multimillionaire. You should be living on the beach in a mansion. You should be, flying your private jet around. And, all the guys then write back and say, oh, well, I heard somebody has the skill. I don't have it myself. And so, it's like, oh yeah, well, you believe it, but you've got no evidence. Anyway, LRLs and LDLs are high dollar electronic dowsing scams. And so don't buy them, all right? You'll just be wasting your money, because I've actually seen, I had a friend of mine, I think I told this story on the dowsing thing, but on the dowsing video, and I'll put a link to the dowsing video down below, so if you want to look at that. But he took a guy out, and the guy claimed he had skills to dowse with his LRL, and he could find gold. And so the guy said, look, if you promise to keep it secret, I will take you out to a place that has real gold, and you can use your LRL to find some gold and prove to me that it works, because the guy insisted it worked and that he could do it. So they went out there. My friend let the guy, fiddle around for an hour or two. They didn't find anything. Then my friend pulled out his normal, real, regular metal detector, and in 15 minutes he had a nugget. And that was the end of the test. It's all fake. The gold thing is, it's a real thing. Real metal detectors are real, but the LRLs and LDLs, and in my opinion, dowsing, are fake. Now, like I say, if you want to mess around with just a couple of bent wires or some other thing, you want to use a stick with a Y in it, it's fine. You can mess around with it, but don't waste your money, pay big money for these electronic units. The scientific gobbledygook, the people who sell these will use that kind of language too in their presentation to you. They'll give you all kinds of super scientific sounding words, and you'll think, wow, this must be really highly developed. And the truth is, like I say, it's gibberish, it's gobbledygook, it's meaningless words strung together, it's fiction. Okay, let's look at a final few scams. Fakes on YouTube. Now, there's some guys who go around and claim to find amazing amounts of gold and giant nuggets. I mean, some of their giant nuggets are like a couple feet in diameter. I actually did a video on, amazing gold, is it real? And I'll put a link to it down here, and I'll probably put a link to it up here above too if you want to look at the fake gold on YouTube. Now, the one good thing about these guys is they're not trying to sell you anything other than just that you watch. And I guess based on, what they're doing, they could claim, oh, it's all just fiction. I'm kind of showing you what it might be like, because most of them have, like I say, they're not selling you the gold. So it's not like, oh, I just found a 20-ounce nugget, I'll sell it to you for $10,000. They're not doing that. So fakes on YouTube, yeah, there's plenty of them. If they're finding amazing, incredible amounts of gold, multi-pound nuggets, yeah, that's, multi-pound nuggets are found. They do exist, but they're super rare. It's not like they're found every week, and these guys find, like I say, they find a nugget this big. And then the other thing is they'll take a nugget that's, huge and pick it up because it's a painted rock is what it is. They take gold spray paint or whatever kind of paint and paint the rock to look good. And a lot of times they'll put dirt on it to make it look like, oh, it just came out of the ground or something. Anyway, they pick it up like this, and a rock like this, a nugget this big would weigh, 100 pounds or more. And they treat it like it weighs 5 or 10 pounds because it does weigh 5 or 10 pounds. It's a rock. Anyway, there's plenty of fakers on YouTube, but at least they're not trying to rip you off by stealing your money directly. They're just kind of wasting your time. Now, gold from water, that's something I want to talk about because I get, questions about this, and I see people talking about it, and then somehow you're going to take either water from some freshwater spring or a hot spring or from the ocean or something, and they're going to extract gold out of it with the special super highly technical gizmo. And yeah, that's all just a scam. It's all just quackery. Now, the truth is that there are tiny, tiny, tiny traces of gold in salt water, and in some waters there are tiny, tiny, tiny traces of gold. See, the best lies, or the most difficult to deal with lies, are lies that have a tiny bit of truth in them. They look better that way. But they'll tell you that there are small amounts and that they're going to process this water and take the gold out of it. The thing is that the energy to extract the gold is a million times more than the energy to, it's a million times more than what the gold is worth. All right? And so gold from water is just a scam because, like I say, it can't be done. There's been scientists who have fiddled around with the idea of somehow extracting gold from saltwater oceans and that kind of stuff. It's never even been in the ballpark of successful. I mean, they can extract tiny amounts of gold, but the amount of work and energy and time and everything else that it takes, that gold is then, it costs them $10 million an ounce when you can get, right now it's like $1,900 an ounce. So do you want to pay $1,900 an ounce or $10 million an ounce? Yeah. So thinking you're going to make money with gold from water, sorry, ain't going to happen. Now I get other stuff too. I had a guy one time tell me he was gonna extract gold from a dry lake bed, and he actually had like a street sweeper kind of thing, and he told me he's gonna use convicts to save money. It's like ex-cons. You're gonna use ex-cons to vacuum a dry lake bed for gold. He says, yep, that's what I'm gonna do. Obviously it never happened, but I actually saw the street sweeper thing that he had. Dry lake beds do not have significant amount of gold in them. Now, there are some places in Australia and maybe a few other places where there's actually gravels underneath the dry lake beds in Nevada are just powdered dust. They're clay dust, and there's not significant gold in the clay dust. But there are a couple places in Australia where there's been material over gravel, and there are some nuggets in the gravels underneath the clay in the bed. So there are a couple places where, again, the most difficult lies are ones with a small element of truth. And so there are a few places where gravels underneath the surface of a dry lake bed can have some gold in them. But the clay dust kind of stuff like we have here in Nevada and a lot of other places, even in Australia, the clay dust is not where the gold is. And then sagebrush, that's probably my last one here. There are people who claim to be able to extract from sagebrush, or they can use sagebrush as a special treatment. There actually was people that did this in the old days of the Comstock up Virginia City, not far from here. And supposedly we're going to use, desert sagebrush to extract the gold and silver. That's another bogus thing. There are just so many scams in the world of gold. I mean, I could just talk for a long time about scams I've heard of over the years. It just is a thing where if it sounds too good to be true, you need to tell yourself it's too good to be true. You not need to tell yourself, I've struck it rich. And like the guy who wanted me to help him find gold and silver in his ores that didn't really have gold and silver and platinum in his ores. There's no magic. If there's gold, it can be extracted. If there's not, it can't. And if there's super low amounts of gold, it maybe could be extracted, but not economically. That's like your salt water. But, be careful when you invest in gold. If the CEO of the gold company you want to invest in was the CEO of a weed company last year, and probably next year he'll be the CEO of a cryptocurrency exchange. And it's just moving from one kind of scammy thing to another. Be careful. Be careful out there, because there's plenty of people in the world of gold investment that would be happy to take your money. And I don't want to see you guys get caught up in that. So lots of frauds and scams out there. If you have any questions, you can ask me in the comments. I don't, give out my email or phone number or that kind of stuff, because I just get so many inquiries. Just ask me in the comments, and if there's anything I can add to you or give to you or advice, I'll be happy to give you whatever advice I can offer. Now, if you're really interested in finding real gold, if you want to avoid the frauds and scams and find real gold for yourself, well, I wrote a book about that. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about my book right now. So let me tell you a little bit more about my book. It's called Fistful of Gold, and I wrote it because I want you to be able to go out and find for yourself Fistful of Gold. And you can see that it's an encyclopedia with all kinds of information, pictures, and that sort of thing. It's not in color, but color would have cost me a lot more to have printed, and so the book would have cost a lot more. It's for sale on Amazon, and you can pick it up. I'll put a link in the description below. I also serve as the editor for a prospecting magazine. It's ICMJ's Prospecting and Mining Journal. And honestly, you should check that out. We got stories and information, legal stuff, everything you know to increase your skills as a prospector. I write articles in this every month, and a lot of other very experienced prospectors contribute to the magazine as well. So check the magazine out. Also, I have a website, and the website is at NevadaOutbackGems.com. I'll put a link for it in the description below, but there's gobs of information there that you will find useful in your prospecting efforts. Finally, I want to say that I really appreciate your comments and thoughts, and even positive criticism. Don't come on there and just toss out insults, because I'll just delete your comments. But if you've got helpful things to say and questions to ask, do write and put those in the comments, because I answer my comments to people, and you'll hear from me in responding to you. So if you've enjoyed this video and you like what you see and you're interested in finding out more, well then sign up, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so they'll let you know when I post new videos. And like it and share it if again you see stuff that you really are excited about. And I'll be coming out with lots more new videos, and so we'll see you again real soon.